It's good to be back here again on a Tuesday morning here on Breakfast Central. Thank you very much for joining us to start the show. It's good to have Johansson back. I am Olive Emodi, and for the next 2 hours, we're going to be looking at some of the biggest political stories. It's Fuji House of Commotion happening in Rivers State. Every day it's a new development, and I wonder how the people of Rivers State are adjusting to all the many changes. But again, we'll stick around for the next 2 hours to have this conversation.
Absolutely. Two factions, two state assemblies. You have the Martins Amawole-led assembly, and then you have the Okojumbo-led assembly. And you know the funny thing, both are operational. So this one is operating, this one is operating. Yesterday they had appointed a new commissioner where people have asked questions. Why is he bearing Fubara? Is he kind of like related to the governor? While they did that, while they were appointing the commissioner, the Martins Amawole pro-Wike River State faction, I mean, that's quite long, was probing the current governor, saying you've not followed the constitutional law of 1999 by going ahead to appoint commissioners. And then they are telling him, you need to come and present your... The drama, I'm wondering, how will the governor work?
At this point, I think it's safe to say that governorship in Rivers State is non-existent. Even though the pro-Fubara supporters would say that the governor is working, but it would seem that the governor is fighting to keep his head above the water.
Yeah.
What the pro-Wike team are doing is that rather than just allowing the governor to be governor, it would seem that they are saying that if we cannot be at the helm of affairs, we'll make the state ungovernable for you. So it just feels like there's a fight every other day, and at the end of the day, it is the Rivers people that get to suffer for it. It's unfortunate that that's what politics in Nigeria has been reduced to. It's ridicule, right? We're insulting the intelligence of the Nigerian people with all this back and forth. We're betraying the trust that the Nigerian people have placed in I won't say where, because I'm not a politician. Our politicians and our leaders are betraying the trust that we put in them, hoping that they will lead us, hoping that they will execute policies that will make life better. How does all this drama affect the betterment of the lives of the people in Rivers State? They've given 7 days ultimatum for Governor Siminalayi Fubara to present his budget before the Martin Amawole-led House. And that's a conversation that we'll be having this morning. But we thank you very much for joining us. Also to mention that the conversations will be going on social media at News Central TV on all platforms. We have Adebola Adedugba, who's bringing us breakfast headlines as well. Good morning, Adebola. It's good to be here.
Oh, good morning, Olive and Joe. I mean, I can't help but just heave a sigh of relief talking about Rivers State. It's another day, another drama in Rivers State. Like Joe rightly referenced, two different House of Assembly having sessions, and in plenary. It's just very dramatic. And now they've given the governor ultimatum. Same people saying that Governor Sim Fubara did not follow the Constitution. They themselves violated the Constitution, because according to the Constitution, I mean, Section 109, subsection 1G, you can't defect. They have defected from PDP to APC.
Their arguments against that would be that, what was the notice to defect? That there's a proper way for defecting. That if they say that they defected, can you prove that they defected? That would be the argument.
Well, but they came out and said they are joining APC. I mean, for me, it's just a game of chess. We have not seen the last of this. It's just like a game of chess. This person plays this one, the other party plays this one. And I mean, time will tell. But then, people bearing the brunt are the people in Rivers State. It's so unfortunate.
Sometimes when I like yesterday, I was sitting to imagine things. I mean, I imagine a lot in my head, and I was imagining in my head what the gameplay would be. So possibly a Martin Amawole would be calling his Oga at the top, whom we all know, and say, okay, what do we do? And he says, you know what, do this, do that. Okay, you know what, quickly file this case, do that.
Oh gosh. While
on the other hand, Fubara and his own cabinet or his own team are equally meeting every day. If it's not physically, it's via the phone, or you put him on conference call. Okay, what do we do? What do we do? How do you live like that?
And then,
how do you live?
I'm just wondering, for the newly inaugurated caretaker committee that the governor Sim Fubara inaugurated, I'm just wondering, how productive can they be?
I don't know. First of all, I think it's not just about how productive can they be. It's also to wonder, if they are going to still remain there. Because if you remember, before Martin Amaewhule was, before his team were kicked out, quote unquote, they had already passed a law, they had amended the local government law stating that the local government chairman could extend their time, they could stay there until another election had been conducted and other local government officers were put in place. So basically what that tells us is that we don't even know, we can't speak to the legitimacy of the local government caretaker committee. But just to remind the Nigerian people, you know, this is a reminder to the Nigerian people that at the end of the day, your destiny is in your hands. Politicians will always play politics. They would mortgage your future. The drama going on in Rivers State, we've seen it play out in different forms in different parts of the country. At the end of the day, politicians don't have the same reality that you do. They're not coming to queue for fuel. They're not buying, they're not impacted heavily with the 720 naira per litre fuel that you have to buy. And I hope that Nigerians can remember this as we prepare for the next elections, because do not be deceived. People have already started to prepare for the next election. So when they come to you and they are lobbying you with very flowery campaign speeches and reminding you that, oh, we're from the same tribe, or we're from the same, you know, we're the same religion, I hope that you'll be able to remember what you've gone through during this current administration. You remember to prioritize yourself and look at the kind of future that you want for yourself. I'm hoping that the Nigerian people will remember when they're choosing who to throw their support behind. At the end of the day, politicians will always play politics, but Nigeria's destiny is in your hands.
Just to add, I mean, we wait on Federal High Court as they would have the final verdict, you know, on this. I mean, from State High Court in Rivers State to Appeal Court, and now they are heading to the Federal High Court. So fingers crossed, we'll see how that pans out.
Even the State High Court had passed two judgments.
Absolutely.
So it's confusing. You pass a judgment that restrains the 26 lawmakers from returning back.
From parading themselves as lawmakers. You know, it's just a lot of drama.
Later on, it changes, you know, okay, that's fine. So, you know, I think, and I must say this, Nigeria's judiciary or Nigeria's judicial system is crumbling. And I'm going to say it, there's no way to, because we've started seeing things pop up that ordinarily were not happening. Maybe it was happening. I mean, in times past, if we take a look at the news and the stories in previous times before, I mean, we were here on TV, these things happen, but they don't come out in the open to say this is what we're doing. But from my understanding, it's actually traced down from the elections. We saw what took place at the elections. We saw what took place here and there. And then people were expecting that the judiciary will stand up and, you know, make these laws clear and stated to Nigerians. But now again, look at what's happening in different states. Everybody's just doing what they like. And then we're expecting the judiciary to actually correct the matters, but it's not happening. So I'm seeing a lot of decadence actually going on in the judiciary, and I stand to be corrected. If it's not going right, then we wouldn't have issues like this.
Well, there's a lot of, there's so many angles to this conversation. The judiciary certainly has a lot of reflection it needs to do. There needs to be some internal reflection. I'm hoping that as we're counting down to the MBA conference and all the conferences that are happening, that a number of these conversations come up, but beyond it being talk, there'd actually be action to ensure that we have tighter legal systems that protect the rights of the Nigerian citizens.
Absolutely.
Adebola, we'll have you bring us breakfast headlines, but let's share what our top stories are. This morning on Breakfast Central, Pro-Wike Rivers Assembly gives Governor Siminalayi Fubara 7 days to represent the budget.
What happens if 7 days? Anyway. Federal government suspends taxes on maize, rice, and other staples. This was great news yesterday. We'll talk about it today.
And the groups reject move to privatize Nigeria's teaching hospitals.
Yet again. Justice sector stakeholders push for improvements, just like what we just said. It needs to be looked into.
And the newspaper front pages, you get to be a part of the conversations this morning. Join us for these and more on Breakfast Central. Now, Adebola brings you breakfast headlines.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Adebola Adeduba. Let's begin by telling you that the chairman of Nigeria's Tripartite Committee on National Minimum Wage, Baka Goni, has called for a reduction in the cost of governance, especially in government expenditures. He says this will help raise funds internally to afford a national minimum wage for workers, which can now be equated to a living wage. The chairman made this known during a one-day retreat on labor reforms, expressing optimism that Nigeria's working class will soon have a living wage approved.
In every 1 billion naira contract awarded, the actual value delivered may not be more than 400 million. No economy can sustain this, whether China or America. We must critically look at that point. The next one is one area that has become so topical these days, the issue of procurement of SUVs by government agencies. We also need to critically look at that, looking at the present economic realities, that the replacement period of government vehicles of 4 years must change to at least between 8 to 10 years. If a Prado is procured to the Director General in the government agency, that Prado must serve for at least 8 to 10 years. It is no longer 4 years because the economic cannot sustain this.
And now to education matters. The Academic Staff Union of Universities said it will be meeting with the federal government on July 25th, 2024 over its unmet demands. This comes as the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions declared on Sunday they were set for a one-day protest on Tuesday on campuses over their withheld 4-month salaries. The one-day protest would be a prelude to a nationwide protest planned for 18th of July. ASU President Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke disclosed these to correspondents. A federal high court in Kaduna has adjourned a suit by former governor of Kaduna State, Nasiru El-Rufai, against the State House of Assembly and the Attorney General until July 17, 2024. El-Rufai is seeking to nullify the Assembly's report, accusing him of embezzling 423 billion naira. His lawyer, Abdul Hakim Mustafa, claims the Assembly violated El-Rufai's right to a fair hearing by not inviting him to the probe. The Assembly and Attorney General's Council requested more time to file preliminary objections, which the judge granted. We head to Rivers State, where factional speakers of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Victor Oko-Jumbo, on Monday presided over the screening and confirmation of Emmanuel Frank Fubara as a commissioner designate. Consequently, the clerk of the House has been directed to communicate the confirmation of the commissioner designate to the state governor, Sir Siminalayi Fubara, for possible swearing in as member of the State Executive Council. The screening and confirmation followed a letter sent by Governor Fubara to the Assembly and read by Right Honorable Oko-Jumbo, requesting that the House confirm Frank Fubara, a legal practitioner, as a commissioner for serve in Rivers State Executive Council. The Martin Amawule-led Rivers State House of Assembly has issued a 7-day ultimatum to Governor Sim Fubara to represent the 2024 budget to the House. The ultimatum came after the first sitting of the Pro-Wike House on Monday. The other House, led by Victor Oko-Jumbo, is also holding a parallel sitting. Fubara had earlier presented the budget to the House loyal to him when his current Chief of Staff, Edison Ehi, presided as Speaker. He and the other pro-Fubara lawmakers passed the budget estimate and the governor signed the bill into law. In East Africa, the leader of a Kenyan doomsday court is on trial on charges of terrorism over the deaths of more than 400 of his followers in the case that shocked the world. Self-proclaimed pastor Paul Mackenzie appeared in court in the Indian Ocean port city of Mombasa, along with 94 co-defendants on Monday. Journalists were removed from the courtroom shortly after the start of the hearing to enable a protected witness to take the stand.
In Your Honor, we have absolute trust on the wisdom, knowledge, and prowess of this honorable court
wanaamini kwamba hii mahakama iko na uwezo
to look through
kuangalia
and see beyond what has been presented in front of it,
ili kuangalia zaidi kupita yale ambayo yameweza kuletwa mbele ya koti,
and as such find that the accused persons do not have anything to do with the charges that have been brought against them, and release them to go about enjoying their freedom of religion, assembly, freedom of media, and freedom of expression.
We will present both direct and circumstantial evidence with around 90 prosecution witnesses.
wataweza kuleta ushahidi wao mahakamani, yote ushahidi unaoongea directly ama ambayo inahusisha ya mashahidi 90.
We'll also adduce numerous pieces of real and documentary evidence,
wataweza kuleta pia vielelezo mahakamani,
including electronic and other.
And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. It's back to Joe and Olive.
Thank you
very
so
much.
Thank you.
I mean, I find it very interesting, of course, again, that Frank Fubara has been brought forward as Commissioner nominee. Interesting because right now we're not even sure which House of Assembly is a legitimate House of Assembly in Rivers State. So him then bringing him for screenings and all of that, I wonder if all of that is going to hold. And what happens if at the end of the day, you know, all of that becomes upturned? Again, leads me back to the conversation of what happened before Martin Amewule and his other lawmakers were asked to stop parading themselves as assembly lawmakers, right? They had extended the local government, they had extended the tenure for the local government chairman, even though Fubara kicked against it, saying that no one can push for tenure allegation because the constitution doesn't provide for it. So I wonder if this appointment or this nomination will stand when the water comes down. That is, if the water will never come down in Rivers State.
This case looks like the more you look, the less you see. I mean, with the whole drama and everything. I just hope pretty soon they find a common ground so that there can be progress in Rivers State.
Thank you very much, Adebola. See you again at 9 a.m.
You're welcome.
All right. This is still Breakfast Central. I'd like to ask that you engage with us on social media at News Central TV on all platforms. And in case you have to leave the house, not to worry, we have you covered. We're streaming live on YouTube at News Central TV. We'll be right back after this break.
Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central on News Central. Stakeholders in Nigeria's criminal justice sector have called for improved collaboration within the judicial system to ensure the speedy dispensation of justice in the country. This was said during a dialogue at the International Federation of Female Lawyers in Abuja, where they appraised the administration of criminal justice system in the country with a view to improve the process. Marvelous Obomanu tells us more.
The administration of the Criminal Justice Act was signed into law in 2015 in a bid to revolutionize Nigeria's justice sector. The purpose of the act is to promote efficient management of criminal justice institutions, ensure the speedy dispensation of justice, protect the society from crime, and ensure the protection of the rights and interests of suspects, defendants, and victims. At this gathering of stakeholders who work around the criminal justice sector, the slow dispensation of justice was reviewed with the aim to speed up justice dispensation. They said law enforcement agencies and the judiciary needs to work together to ensure the speedy dispensation of justice. Some of them gave insights on their efforts so far.
Before a case is charged to court in Rivers State Command now, it's a gradual process. It's not fully effective because of some rural areas. But within the metropolis, you can't just take any case to court anyhow. We have about, for now, 6 lawyers, 3 from the police and 3 from the Ministry of Justice. We look at the case files, evidence-based investigation.
Usually in biostat criminal matters, if there are adjournments, it's mostly twice. I mean, when I say twice, it has to be once in 2 weeks for every criminal matter. You don't take adjournment for 1 month. The highest a court will give to you in high court is 14 days. That way it helps to expedite the criminal matters.
While the International Federation of Female Lawyers highlighted its efforts in ensuring a faster dispensation of justice in the country and the clearing of current backlog of cases, they called on prosecutors to embrace the plea bargain option in criminal cases.
The project intervention has significantly improved the level of collaboration amongst criminal justice actors, thereby enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness of the criminal justice system in the project focal state, with about 96% improvement in faster justice delivery.
this issue of restitution and the restorative justice in our criminal justice system have actually begun to encourage many people, especially victims of crime, to come forward, sponsor prosecution, and at the end of the day, they get something back. So it is important to look at this case again because it is an important thing that can help us secure conviction and all.
They say the delay in the dispensation of justice has over the years acted as an impediment in the administration of criminal justice in the country and express hope that these engagements will help reverse the trend. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obomman.
Good report there by Marvelous Obomman, and we do hope that there will be a speedy release of judgment, and most importantly from the judiciary. It's a conversation everybody wants to have. It's a conversation that we've been having for a very, very long time. Recently, we did see cases where some prisoners were released and questions were asked how long they stayed in prison, and they mentioned close to 3 years, some 5 years, and we do hear that there are many. I mean, if you've not done that, and if you possibly have the chance or opportunity to find someone who was in prison, you could ask, and I'm sure that you would be shocked as well. Very, very painful. Anyway, let's move on now to our next story very quickly. Let's tell you that the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Health and lawmaker representing Zangon Kataf Jaba Federal Constituency of Kaduna State, Amos Magaji, has proposed privatizing Nigeria's university teaching hospitals due to challenges such as underfunding, decay, and personal shortages. He said this on a recent visit to Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital in Zaria, Kaduna State.
According to interviews done, Magaji's suggestion has been met with criticism from unions such as the Nigerian Medical Association and the Nigeria Labour Congress. While Magaji believes privatization could improve efficiency, he also acknowledges the potential hardship it may cause and emphasizes the need to review the health insurance system to reduce out-of-pocket expenses. This morning, we're joined by the president of the Nigerian Medical Association, Bala Audu. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So I think my first question to you would be looking at this. Conversations about privatizing public institutions have been conversations that have been going on for the longest time. Even I remember we did have it, sometime in 2014, but was also kicked against. So what side of the divide are you on? Would you say are you for or against privatization of public health institutions?
Well, I'll go straight to the point. We're definitely against privatization of public health institutions, particularly our teaching hospitals. And I'll give you fundamental reasons why. First and foremost, let's look at what do these teaching hospitals represent. Teaching hospitals are there because they serve medical schools in universities. These colleges of medical sciences train the medical health power needs of this country and beyond, both at undergraduate and postgraduate level, from medicine, dentistry, nursing, radiography, physiotherapy, you name it. All healthcare personnel in this country are trained through our colleges of medicine, through the teaching hospitals, which form the greater part of their training period. Now, to try to even think about privatizing these institutions will be the greatest disservice anybody could do to this country, particularly to the health sector.
All right.
Now, these teaching hospitals, if you see their products, that is why you can have the ongoing immigration of doctors out of this country. Because the quality of what they train at undergraduate and postgraduate level meets international best standards. And that is why there is a major struggle by other countries, including developing countries of the United States, United Kingdom, to actually come and employ the the doctors, dentists, and other healthcare providers that are trained in these institutions. So where are we talking about the inefficiency? Is it which component of the triple mandate is there inefficiency? Is it in the training component, in the research component, or is it in the service delivery component? Now, looking at the next step also, who wants to buy these teaching hospitals anyway? What is the quantum of taxpayers' funds as well as national funds that have been pumped into these hospitals? I would think that anybody who would want to buy these hospitals must be a trillionaire, because at their current value, I'm sure each of them will be worth over ₦1 trillion. If you look just at the prime land where they are located, not to even talk of the kind of infrastructure and equipment that is in these facilities.
All right.
So anybody
there are many areas that you've highlighted, really.
Anybody who has the interest of introducing efficiency into healthcare delivery in this country, particularly in the triple mandate of training, research, and service delivery, and has this kind of funds to actually buy any of these hospitals, I think if that individual is serious, the individual should go and start from the scratch his own modern teaching hospital to compete with these teaching hospitals.
All right.
And then if he competes and he shows that he is better than the existing ones, then he can vie for them. But to come out of the blue,
let's talk about
without having anything to buy any of these facilities, I think it would be the greatest disservice to this country.
All right, let's talk about, I mean, you've highlighted many things. You've talked about how you're strongly against privatization. And quite frankly, you're not the only one. There are many people who would agree with you as to the fact that whilst it may look like a good idea on the surface, really, it's not maybe the best option to take, and not even now, especially where we're talking about a country that is battling with multidimensional poverty, and the number of people who would even get access to this healthcare that would then be cut off. I want us to talk about brain drain. In 2023 alone, there were about over 900 resident doctors that left Nigeria and over 1,400 who indicated their interest. What is the current reality of what we have regarding brain drain? And what would you say are your projections for where we are headed in terms of how we are seeing a mass exodus of our medical personnel out of the country?
We expect a continuation of this mass exodus in the current circumstance. We expect increasing challenges of retaining our well-trained health professionals in this country unless the government intervenes. And in this situation, I have examples to give. The same committee chair on tertiary health institution, Honorable Amos, declared a state of emergency in health, and we were all there and we made contributions. If the National Assembly contributions that were made at that declaration, then we stand a great chance, not just of stopping the brain drain, but we can reverse it. But more than just reversing the brain drain, we know that the coordinating minister of Health and Social Welfare of this party has declared that medical schools should increase their carrying capacity to double what we are currently admitting. And facilities are being provided to ensure that happens. To ensure that the training goes on as effectively as it is going currently, so effective that countries from all over the world are here to have products, graduates from this country, then it also means we need to double the training capacity of these institutions in terms of the manpower for the training, the infrastructure for the training, and the equipment for the training. And the only way we can achieve that is if we reverse this emigration of health professionals out of this country. Okay. Amongst the push factors that sends them out of this country, of course, is the remuneration and the workplace environment. If we correct the challenges we have with the workplace environment and we improve the welfare and take-home pay of healthcare providers, I can assure you, in no time, not only will we halt the brain drain, but we're also going to reverse it. We're not just only going to reverse the brain drain, but we're even also going to reverse the flight of capital out of this country in the form of medical tourism. We have the solutions to these challenges, and we're just waiting for government to adopt these solutions that we are providing.
All right, Mr. Audu, let's also look at the fact that currently the medical system, if I dare say, is heading to a state of comatose because you do not have the required personnel, doctors and so on, just as you've mentioned. A lot of them are indeed migrating, leaving the country. And let's also talk about the apparatus. Let's talk about the instruments, equipment, everything needed to actually carry out a successful medical practice. But don't you think if it's privatized, it would now enhance efficiency, also allow other medical practitioners to indeed return back to Nigeria and be able to set up their own medical facilities, because this time the government would not have a hold on each of these medical decisions that would be made. Of course, we know there will be, governing whatever processes are being done, but don't you think privatization is the key to be able to help Nigerians and also bring back those who have initially left the country?
Now let's look at what happens all over the world. There is nowhere in the world where the health sector is left in private hands. Healthcare delivery to the citizens of every nation is a human right of all citizens of that nation, including this country. And therefore, to say we're going to privatize what has been put together for the benefit and collective interests of the Nigerian people and put it in the hands of private individuals who have not even demonstrated capacity of handling such fundamental responsibilities and the magnitude of issues that the teaching hospitals address, I think will not just produce inefficiency. It will move from being comatose, if indeed our health sector is comatose, which I challenge anybody to discuss that issue. I do not believe it is comatose. But let's assume from assumption that it's comatose, I think we will just be digging its grave. Now, what is the efficiency we are talking about? I've explained clearly that teaching hospitals have a triple mandate. So when you privatize them, what efficiency do you want to introduce? Is it in the training of the healthcare providers at undergraduate and postgraduate level that you think you can do better than what is ongoing? And what is the evidence base that there is capacity to do that, and who has demonstrated that in this country? Or is it the research component? What is the research output of these private individuals? Or is it the service delivery? Now let's look at the service delivery, which is often the issue everybody is talking about. By their very nature of establishment, teaching hospitals are tertiary health institutions, which means they receive difficult and challenging cases from secondary health institutions, who also receive their cases on referral from primary health institutions. And we all know that generally, primary health institutions are under the purview of local governments, secondary under the purview of state governments, and tertiary under the purview of federal government. Which means, to be effective and efficient, teaching hospitals must concentrate on delivering tertiary health care.
Okay.
However, we know in reality, tertiary hospitals are delivering primary care, they are delivering secondary care, they are delivering tertiary care, in spite of the dwindling health manpower for them to do this. They are, which means their personnel, the healthcare personnel, are overstretched. The facilities are overstressed.
Well said. We've gotten your points, and I mean, I think it's worthy of looking.
In private sector, are you saying that they will now stop all these services that our teaching hospitals have taken upon themselves to deliver because there is a breakdown down the line? Then who will now do these responsibilities? I think if anything, our teaching hospitals need to be appreciated for taking the bull by the horn. We remain the most effective and efficient public sector.
Mr. Audu, I get your point, and we can say rightly that, I mean, you've made some salient points here, and I think we need to actually juxtapose and, of course, put in a balance what privatization would be and what it would bring, and most importantly, with the points that you've laid down, which is worthy of reviewing again. Unfortunately, we'd like to have you join us again next time so we can have an extensive conversation on this. But we need to move on to our next story. Thank you so much for taking time out to join us. And by the way,
thank you for your time.
I was looking at your bow tie.
Thank you.
I wish I could have the bow tie. Maybe next time.
Thank you very much for your time with us.
Thank you.
We'll still keep talking about this and bring more updates regarding privatizing the health sector, but it is something that has been kicked against. NLC has said that you cannot take the hospitals that have been built with taxpayers' money and then give them to private individuals, and that they will kick against it if this happens. So we'll be talking more about this as we proceed. But let's move away to Rivers State. The Rivers State House of Assembly, led by Nthenge Mackenzie, has issued a 7-day ultimatum to Governor Siminalayi Fubara to resubmit the 2024 budget. Now, this directive came during the first session of the Pro-Wike House of Assembly on Monday, following an appeal court order dismissing the order of a Rivers State High Court, which restrained Nthenge Mackenzie and 24 others from parading themselves as lawmakers of the State Assembly.
Well, Governor Fubara had previously presented a budget to a different House faction loyal to him, with Nthenge here presiding as Speaker. The pro-Fubara lawmakers passed the budget, which Fubara subsequently signed into law. Well, joining us now is PDP Chieftain Collins Audu. Good morning to you, Mr. Audu, and thank you so much for being here again. It seems like every now and then that you join us, it's a different cloth that this drama is putting on. And this time we have a different one. It's got to do, I think the title of this cloth that this drama is wearing is called 7 Days Time. What do you make of the 7 days ultimatum given to Governor Fubara by a different faction this time, which many have attributed or called the Pro-Wike faction? What are your thoughts on that?
Good morning, Nigerians. Anyway, Rivers State is a Rivers State of possibilities, but so far it's almost turned into Rivers State of one day, one drama. But that's notwithstanding. Let me go to your question. Yeah, my take on this is that first and foremost, I want to commend the appeal court for standing firm to defend democracy. You see, I say this because we live in a state where the rule of law has been turned upside down, and is very disturbing because the major actor is the governor of the state who took an oath to defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And every drama of illegality and lawlessness has come from the governor. And this is, to say the least, unexpected and disheartening. And let me not use very strong words, but I think the governor is the architect of all the problems. All right, my take on it is the fact that the House of Assembly, by virtue of the judgment of the appeal court, has been given life in contrast to the governor's activities and actions, whereby he says this will leave. No, you no longer leave. This person should leave. That has been the action of the governor in disrespect and disregard to judgments. Constituted courts of competent jurisdiction gave judgments. I have one here from Judge Omotosho, wherein some prayers were answered, but the governor, in violation to all of this court judgment, had decided to be to say the least, to portray an executive rascality that has never been witnessed in Nigeria. So the 7-day ultimatum given to them is as a result of the life given back to the Martins Amewule-led assembly, which is the only assembly. It's unfortunate that people will be referring to other assemblies. Like I said to you, let us even imagine, but not conceding to the fact that, okay, the 27 lawmakers needed to defect, which is not true. You all know that in Rivers State, led by former Governor Nyesom Wike, we supported President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is of the APC. And to that extent, we cohabit and fraternize with them. So the assembly members, in view of recognizing the benefits of the president, decided to chant the songs of the president. And people now thought that they had defected. That notwithstanding, but assuming and considering to the fact that they defected, they gave a reason that, look, we are doing this because there is commotion in our party, which section 109, section 2 gives life. If for any reason anybody is defecting and gives reason, that does not mean that he will automatically lose his seat.
Okay,
but
please hold on that thought. I'd like to bring in a lawyer. I mean, you're saying, assuming without conceding that they actually, that action of them gathering together and singing songs in support of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu shows that they are defected, right? That if we assume that that's what it was, that doesn't automatically mean that they have forgone their seat. Let's bring in a lawyer. We have legal practitioner Towo Oseruwoja. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. I know that you've been a part of the conversation. I'd like you to react to some of the things that our earlier guest, Mr. Odu, has said. You know, he talked about Fubara displaying judicial rascality, and then he's also shared now that, assuming without conceding that the actions of the 27 lawmakers can be said to have, you know, can be interpreted as them having moved parties, of them having left one party to join the other, that, you know, that cannot be interpreted as them having vacated their seat. So we'd like you to give us some clarity on that.
Well, let me look at, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
We can, loud and clear.
Okay, let me first of all answer you the first leg, the last leg of your question. If the lawmakers have defected or not, or if they can still retain their seats. It is clear from the Constitution Section 109, subsection 1, if you look at paragraph G of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, you discover that a member of House of Assembly, which in this case now, the member of River State House of Assembly, who defected from the political party that sponsored him or her to another political party during the period of that tenure, cease to lose or lose his seat is a constitutional matter. And let's not forget that what the analyst said earlier, the matter before my Lord, Honorable Justice, Reverend Honorable Justice Omotosho, was not to either determine whether they are valid member of the State House of Assembly or not, or whether they've defected and thereby allowing them to lose their seat. It's not because of that. And that is a subject for another matter which I will answer. So it's a clear provision of the Constitution. It's a clear provision of the Constitution, which even there is a recent Court of Appeal decision on that one, 2023, the case of Anyanwu versus Okoro, which was reported in Electronic Law Report, Law Pavilion. It was clearly stated that a member of the State House of Assembly ceased to become a member when he defected from the political party that sponsored him or her to another political party. The exception is so clear that they must prove that in the course of before their defection or in the course of their defection, there is a division within the political party, and that onus does not move on the person who took them to court, but the person who alleges that division is there. So that is for that. Then on judicial rascality of Fubara, the governor of Rivers State, well, you could see that when the temple of justice is uncertain, anarchy in question can be, anarchy will be let loose. So you could see that, take it or leave it, there are conflicting orders as at the point some actions are taken. There are conflicting orders. You could see the River State House of Assembly and the River State High Court at that particular point in time, did not recognize the pro-Wike members of pro-Wike member House of Assembly members, because there was an order at that particular point in time that they should not parade themselves as members of River State House of Assembly, even though the matter has been trashed. But at that particular point in time, the governor was acting on that issue. So there are two distinct issues. So whether each of the court, the Federal High Court on its own, when he sat in Abuja and listened to the matter that was presented before the court as jurisdiction, is something that I think we need to look at legally. And even whether the River State House of Assembly at that particular point in time restraining the members from parading themselves as members of River State House of Assembly as jurisdiction over the matter is something that I think that calls for judicial review, or should I look at it jurisprudential research to look at these loopholes created by the Constitution, and at the same time the inconsistency of the pronouncement of court when it comes to political issues in Nigeria.
Okay, I'd also like you to still react to some of the other legal challenges that we may have as to what might be the implication of the local government caretaker committee that has been appointed by the new assembly that has been sworn in by the governor, Governor Siminalayi Fubara. What becomes their fate now, seeing that Martin Amaewhule and the other lawmakers have, quote-unquote, been reinstated?
Well, if you look at my take on what Fubara did when it comes to should I use the word dissolution or the appointment of administrative committee, head of administration in the 24 local government. If you look at Section 7 of the Constitution, it is clear that a local government must be administered by a democratically elected person. So, but you see the excesses of our state governors now, which I believe that gives them that power to treat the local government as a department under the state government. They hire, or they believe that they hire, they fire. So that is, first of all, a legal issues which the Supreme Court has held time without number. I expected the legal team and I expected the advisors of Fubara that before the expiration of those local government tenure, it would have put in place or instructed the relevant agency, which is the River State Electoral Commission, Electoral Commission to put in place mechanism for the transition, democratic transition of the local government chairman by conducting an election, just like the states, irrespective of how or the time of the tenure of the of a state governor, there must be an election for another person to take over. So it is constitutionally wrong. But though sometimes they act on the law created by the State House of Assembly, and you look at it, if you look at Section 1 of the Constitution, that when a law is inconsistent, a state law is inconsistent with the Constitution of the Federal Republic, to the extent of inconsistency, that law ceases to be what is null and void. So it is illegal and it is unconstitutional.
So that means, if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is that it's a case of two wrongs. Wrong on the part of Governor Siminalayi Fubara.
It's a clearly case of two wrongs. The governor has no power. Because I've listened to political analysts, I've listened to legal our colleagues. Though we as lawyers, we are to express our opinion. We are not to state what the law is. It is what the court says that is the law. And I've told you, the Supreme Court has ruled that a local government must be administered by a democratically elected person, as stipulated by Section 7 of the Constitution.
That's a tough one. No, let's go back to Mr. Odu, who's also there. Mr. Odu, so you've made some points clearly that there's been a back and forth in this issue of the 27 man. They did not actually change parties. I remember the last time you joined us, you said they were just singing songs and so on. That it didn't mean anything. It was just like a caricature, like you said the last time. But then again, I'd like us to focus on what really is happening in Rivers State. Do you think that this would come to an end anytime soon? Or don't you think it is just better for the pro-Wike faction to just sheath their swords and allow the current governor to just continue with the work that he has to do, the work that the people appointed him to do?
Anyway, before I go into that, I was wondering if I was still participating in this debate.
No, you are. You are. That's why we've come to you now. Please go ahead.
That notwithstanding, I want to correct one impression he made. In Section 109 sub G, there is a proviso there saying, assuming they defected and that they gave a reason. I think that section is subject to adjudication, and until that is decided, the lawmakers still remain lawmakers. That was why I said the rationality of the governor in ignoring court judgments. So, but before that, let me go into what you just said. You see, yes, whatever is hot will definitely be cold. I think that the euphoria of the office of the governor to a man who obviously has not held such office before is what is at play. And I'm sure that in no distant time it will subside and we'll gain normalcy in Rivers State. It is very common that when a vehicle is given a load that is bigger than it will take time to adjust and begin to move normally. So we give room to such. The House of Assembly has given him 7 days, and this is in compliance with Section 122 of the Constitution, which states that in 6 months, a governor or any executive is given the platform to operate without the Constitution, and that 6 months elapsed last month, June. So in compliance to the Constitution, they have given him 7 days to present the budget. You are aware that in Justice Omotoso's statement, he said it clean and clear that the Martins Amewule-led assembly is the assembly. He discarded the issue of the current chief of staff. Now, what's his name? I cannot remember his name. He was then the impostor speaker. I say impostor speaker because like the lawyer said there, that there was an order restraining Martins Amewule from operating. There can't be you see, the point is, I said in this platform that people speak because they don't have the facts. Edison here was never a speaker. Before that order was gotten, Edison here had been thoroughly suspended and couldn't have gone to court to say, look, I get an order to suspend the operations of the Martin Amewule. Let us get this fast, so that when people are discussing, they will put things the right way. So as it is now, I think with this order, 7 days order, that tension on the governor will definitely calm down, because I think he's coming to terms with the reality. And that is the reason why he has gone to another state high court to let me not say procure, to get an injunction stopping the assembly from having a discussion with the chief judge and the clerk of the house. If the assembly was not in existence, I don't think he would do this. I think he's beginning to realize that he has been on the negative side of the law. For sure, he will come to his senses and will move forward.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Mr. Audu, to answer the second part of my colleague's question when he asked for the way forward and if they're going to shake their swords. But I want to bring in our lawyer to react to some of the legal statements that you've made. I'm sure that he'd have a right of response. Please go ahead.
Okay, well, if you look at it, basically, first of all, let me react to the fact that if people get their fact right, if you see what I said was as a result of the orders that are before the court, irrespective, because like I told you, there are legal issues, there are legal jurisprudence that need to be explored over the River State crisis. And one of them is, what jurisdiction does the Federal High Court have towards the administration of the state government? That is one. Then two, what is the power of the State High Court to determine who is a member of a state House of Assembly or not? These are issues that needed to be looked into after the crisis, because our judiciary needs to be up and doing when it comes to political related issues in Nigeria, because whatever they do does not only affect the current situation, but it creates bigger problem as a precedent in future. Now back to it. An order of court remains an order of court, irrespective of how it is gotten, until it is set aside. And I will let you understand that when an order of court exists, any actions done in line with the order of court remain valid, except those actions are set aside by the court or a court of competent jurisdiction. So as at the point in which Fubara was acting, definitely he was acting based on the order of the State High Court, of the River State High Court. Now, the Federal High Court has made pronouncement as to the rights and privileges of the members of River State House of Assembly and who is the Speaker of River State House of Assembly. You could see that by virtue of section 251 of the Constitution, if you look at subsection 4 of that particular section, it confirms issue of who becomes or who is a member or the tenure of a member of State House of Assembly or governor of a state, which the Federal High Court has clearly stated. Do you understand? So it's left for the aggrieved party to question or challenge the procedure as to in line with section 109, subsection 1, paragraph G, to determine if they are still valid members of the State House of Assembly, because that was not in question when the Federal High Court made a pronouncement. So this is the fact. Then the other issue was the fact that now, if those order has been made and the one that is valid, which is the current order now that is valid, what is expected of the River State government is to comply with the provision of the Constitution. And what is it? Is to what? Because one, the bill, as at the time the bill was signed, it was acting on the order of the State High Court, and that order has been set aside. Then two, the Federal High Court, in adjudicating on the matter before the court, has upheld that all those processes, all the bill, because a bill, the budget or appropriation bill is already a law until it's set aside. And the Federal High Court has set it aside. So it is no longer valid until it is presented before the State House of Assembly. But however, the legal team of Ubara knows what to do. And the legal team of the PDP, which in these circumstances, I fear for the principle and the same time the ideology of political party in Nigeria. They know what to do in addressing the River State crisis, because it's beyond political solution, but this is purely legal solution that can be resolved legally. Okay,
so if I get you correctly, he would need to represent the budget to the State House of Assembly. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Toll?
Yes, based on the pronouncement of my lord.
All right. So what I want to ask finally would be that in the next 7 days, they've given them a deadline of 7 days. So I think 1 day down, 6 days to go. What happens if he refuses to represent this budget?
You see, people will say that the governor are the most powerful individual in Nigeria, and I'll tell you for free, they are more powerful than even the president if they exercise the humongous power given to them by the Constitution, because they hold the president, they hold the central by the neck, and they trap the local government by the feet. But however, there is still a loophole whereby they become so vulnerable, which is section 182 of the Constitution that gives the State House of Assembly the impeachment proceeding. And you know, if you look at that section 188 of the Constitution, it gives the State House of Assembly, in these circumstances, what we call the I think the word misconduct can be said to, even if people can say that even if the governor did not hold his pen, like if he's addressing people, yes, no, it can be defined as misconduct by the State House of Assembly.
All right. Okay.
Even if the governor decide not to take his breakfast, it can be defined as misconduct, because the word misconduct was not clearly stated in the Constitution.
All right.
So the State House of Assembly circumstances can, which I believe they are teaming towards, is to invoke Section 188 of the Constitution.
Well, so final question now to Honorable Collins Odu, as quickly as you can. The second question that my colleague asked you, what's the way forward? Are they going to shift their swords at some point? Are we expecting maybe an impeachment for Governor Siminalayi Fubara?
Can you see me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay. Like I said, I'd like you to read section 188 of the Constitution that deals with the situation assuming Governor Fubara refuses to comply. But that notwithstanding, the House of Assembly in their press briefing yesterday within themselves said they don't want to go that route. They are still making available chances for the governor to exercise some level of understanding. That's why they gave him 7 days. Ordinarily, at the expiration of June, I think that, or rather, he has committed gross misconduct, which is impeachable by Section 188, and other activities that he has done, including flagrant disrespect for judgments. They could have gone to do all of this, but they've given him 7 days. But that I'd like to respond as well to what a learned friend said. In a situation where an order is wrongly acquired, a situation where, as at then, Edison Eye was being suspended and went to court to make frivolous claims, and that order is granted, and the other person has appealed against that order. What happens to all the activities that has, assuming it's upturned, what happens to all the activities that were carried out within that period? That is what Justice Omotosho has cured by saying that every action of that particular action or resultant effect of that action is null and void. I thank him for admitting that the governor is duty bound in 7 days to present that budget. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Collins Odu, and we have with us also Towo Oseruwoja. Thank you both gentlemen for your time. We have the next 6 days to see what exactly will become of Rivers State and Governor Siminalayi Fubara's time as governor. But thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
My pleasure.
All right. Let's take you through a recap of the conversations that we've had this morning. In case you're just tuning in, let's see what we've discussed and what we still will discuss. Pro-Wike Rivers Assembly gives Governor Fubara 7 days to re-present the budget. We're joined by two guests to analyze this, and also Groups reject move to privatize Nigeria's teaching hospitals, talking about how to be a disadvantage not just to the teaching hospitals but to Nigerians. And justice sector stakeholders push for improvement. Marvelous Obomadu brought us that report. Now let's share with you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central.
Coming up next on Breakfast Central, federal government suspends taxes on maize, rice and other staples, and newspaper front pages will be coming up right about now. You can join in and share your thoughts. Plus, what Nigerians are saying. I don't know what they're saying. Maybe you find out as well. Stay with us. The newspaper front pages come alive, and thank you so much for staying with us. It's time for us to take a look at the front pages where you can also have your say. So it's that time where we say, have your own say. So join us and let's do it together. Joining us this morning here live in the studio is, of course, Mr. Ikechukwu Amechi, publisher of the Niche newspaper. Thank you so much for being here.
Joe, my pleasure. I've not seen you in a while.
Yes.
It's been around the world.
Be around the world a bit, and then come back and, go back to the front pages that sometimes would break my heart. It's sad. It's sad. But I'll let you do you by, giving us those very poignant and very deep analysis on every story that we're going to look at this morning. Let's start off with our very first paper. This morning has got to do with the Daily Independent, and Daily Independent does not misfire. Yes, they don't, because they always go straight at it, letting you know what the stories truly are. On the front page there, federal government rolls out measures to crash high food prices. I don't know if it's commendable or it's not, but then again, our analyst is in-house, and you find out some of the areas that you should take note of. So that's one of the stories at the front page there. Federal government rolls out measures to crash high food prices, suspends taxes on importation of food commodities to import 250,000 MT of wheat, 250,000 MT of maize, as megatons of wheat and maize. Besides that, let's look at another story there. No tenure elongation for Rivers LG chairman, appeal court rules. So,
this is the conversation we just had, and which is sort of similar to what the guest had said. We'll talk about that later.
There's no tenure elongation. I mean, if you're a local government chairman, like somebody had said in the comment section, I saw it said, "Don't be your papa house." So just take a leave. Go. You've done. You've served already. Another one. Residents groan as fuel scarcity persists in Abuja and Lagos. We're starting to see the fuel queues become very longer in Lagos in some parts. Rivers crisis, I'm not ungrateful, Governor Fubara clarifies in a video which was circulated yesterday in a meeting he had with some of the state and local council chiefs. Zenith Bank wins double award. All right, that's another story concerning a celebration. But then again, let's take this last one before I go straight to Olive. Court adjourns El Rufai's suit against Kaduna Assembly till July 17. July 17. These are some of the big stories you find on the front page of Daily Independent. Let me take this last one, please. Court bars Rivers CG from accepting pro-Wike lawmakers' resolutions.
Ike Rivers State, Agugum. I have to speak Igbo for this one. Rivers State matter, don't tire me. Let's move away from Daily Independent to the Punch newspaper. On the front page of the Punch, federal government suspends food import duty, partner states on farming. Government launches 5-month duty-free import window for maize, rice, wheat orders. Federal government to partner governors, military to cultivate arable lands, support smallholder farmers. Fubara court bars Rivers CJ from accepting impeachment notice. So that means the hands of the assembly members are tied. Local airlines project, they project 980 naira per litre aviation fuel. Meet Dangote. No more traveling. Outrage as Russian missiles kill 33 in Ukraine Children's Hospital. That's sad. Queue spread as petrol hits 1,100 naira litre in Abuja and others. Marketers are waiting products from NNPC, says Petro1. Naira weakens to 1,523 naira to the dollar at official market. And that would be the stories that we have this morning on the Punch newspaper. Let's move over to the Vanguard.
All right, let's take the last paper this morning before we go to our guests. Let's do the Vanguard. The Vanguard this morning has it there. Federal government opts for duty-free imports of rice, beans, wheat, other grains. It's an impact on inflation, Nasima says, a step in the right direction. CPPE, Farmer Action Aid boss react. End of the road for 9 billionaire kidnappers in Lagos. Did you hear about the kidnapping in Lagos?
No.
Woo! I'm sure our guests possibly heard of it, and that it was a drama. It was a drama here. Wow. You know, there were, you know, it's a long story, but then again, you can read it inside of the Vanguard. Let's take one last story and then go straight to our guest. 72 hours after abduction, fate of Kaduna journalist remains unknown. This is very sad, very, very sad. And I think we need to draw more support for his release as much as we can. That's what we're doing here as part of his colleagues. Well, Mr. Kechuku, you have the floor now. Let's start off first with the federal government opting for duty-free importation of staple foods, rice, beans, wheat, and other grains.
Well, like a lot of people said yesterday, it may help. And I'm using the word may. Because we've seen this, the problem I have with the Tinubu administration is that, look, there seems to be no effort in thinking through the policies they roll out. This flip-flop that we have every time. The physical policies of this government are not working. And as long as we continue this knee-jerk approach to matters that ought to be taken holistically and fundamentally after the government must have deliberated upon it. Look, even if you remove the import duties, they are going to be imported. Naira is still exchanging.
At 1,523 naira.
At 1,523 naira. Those who are going to import at the value of what the naira is today. Mm-hmm. So it can't come any cheaper.
So it won't come cheaper, but it might just maintain whatever rate it's currently at.
It might, but then as long as the naira continues to dance yo-yo in the exchange market, it will continue. Look, part of the reason for the inflation that we have is the cost of replacement. That is why, you know, people say, we bought the, somebody bought this goods at this price, and then the naira has come down. Why is he not bringing her the
They have to recoup their profits.
They have to recoup their profit first, but again, you are not sure of the cost when next you go to the market.
Sure.
So that if you sell and you go to the market and the price has tripled because the exchange has gone up again, what do? So the replacement cost is the fundamental issue we have here. So this may help. It may, but fundamentally, I think the government needs to, because all these things are reactions. They said it is, of course, now don't forget it is for a period of time. The government needs to sit down and appreciate the fact that its fiscal policies, they have not got it right. And they must do everything possible, because the one man climbed the mast yesterday in Abuja and said he was going to commit suicide because of the.
They have arrested.
Because of the high cost of living. What are those other things that we need to do in order to stem inflation, in order to bring that? The cost of governance is still as high as ever. Nobody's talking about that. I think it was yesterday that the president of Liberia cut down on
his salary
40%. Everywhere in Kenya, people are bringing down the cost of governance. Here, we are ramping it up. Those are the things that will continue to impact negatively on the cost of living, on inflation. Look, the interest rate is about 35%. You can't go to the bank to get a loan to finance your business at the rate of 30% or more. Who does that? When you get that kind of money, definitely it will impact negatively on your productivity. When that happens, businesses close down, unemployment spikes, and so there are a whole lot of issues. It is a basket of issues that we have. So telling us that you have reduced the removed the import duty, paid on imported rice and beans and all that may be a temporary measure, but at the long run, you find out fuel queues are back there.
Speaking of fuel queues, I'm glad that you brought that up. The Punch newspaper reports this morning that queue spread as petrol hits 1,100 naira to a litre in Abuja this morning. A number of us have seen the queues. What is going on? It's like every Eke market day, there's a queue popping up in Nigeria. And Nigerians not only have to deal with the fact that the product is not accessible, but now they're dealing with the exorbitant fees they have to pay for the product.
Again, the government is not telling Nigerians the truth. You know, when President Bola Tinubu, right there at his inauguration, said fuel subsidy is gone, of course, all manner of excuses have been thrown up all over the years because of the cheap petrol, smuggling across the border. If we increase the price, smuggling will stop, blah, blah, blah. 1 year after, what has happened? We've increased fuel price, we've removed subsidy, smuggling still persists. I heard the other day that people are still taking petrol across the border. Mm-hmm. And look, Olive, government is a deliberate thing. Governance is deliberate. It is not something you do on the spur of the moment. You must be deliberate in the actions and decisions you take and how they are going to impact on the people. The primary responsibility of government is the welfare and security of the people. The government we've had since 2015, they have not looked after the welfare and the security of the people.
So it's safe to say that the government that has the primary responsibility to cater to our welfare hasn't fared well for the people.
In fact, now to say that it hasn't fared well is to put it mildly.
Yeah.
It has failed. It has failed. It's not failing. It has failed.
Okay.
All right, let's look at another story here very quickly. It says, Naira weakens to 1,523 to $1 at official market on the front page of the Punch. And then just very next to that story, very close to it, it says, queues spread as petrol hits 1,100 naira per litre in Abuja.
It's even going to get worse. That was what we just said now. If it is 1,523 in the official market, know that in the unofficial market, the parallel market, it is going to be much more higher than that. And as long as the Naira continues to depreciate, every other thing Because we are an import-dependent economy, for crying out loud. What we produce here. And again, look, that is also the... I said a moment ago that the APC government we've had since 2015, they have not been telling us the truth. Do you remember that former President Muhammadu Buhari and Emefiele did a magic in Abuja? They called Rice Pyramid. They assembled Nigerians and in fact the international community and erected what they called Rice Pyramid in Abuja. They said that Nigeria is in fact overproducing rice now. Local production has surpassed and therefore we don't have any need whatsoever to go and import rice. Where is the rice pyramid?
It's gone.
President Tinubu, if you also remember, last time said that they have is it Nawe houses that the president has given orders that grains should be taken out from our distance. Where are those grains? All these things are lies, to put it mildly, because there's no other way to put it other than that when you don't say the truth, when you are brazenly looking your people in the face and lying to them, this is where, because at the end of the day, lies will always be lies. There's no other way. That is why we have resorted to going to import rice when Buhari told us, the same APC government told us that, look, we have turned the corner in terms of local production of rice. We are not being told the truth in this country. And unless our leaders, if things are bad, can you please sit down and tell Nigerians how bad things are and what you think are the issues and what you intend to do in the medium and long term to solve those problems? That clarity we don't have now. You go to India, you go to everywhere. You say you have brought in investors and investments worth billions of dollars. Where are those investors who promised you in India? They were coming with how many billions?
That's true. That's true. That was the statement made as soon as he assumed office. And
where are those things? Yeah. You went to UAE. You said you have reached an agreement with them that have lifted the visa ban, and that Emirates Airlines will resume flight immediately. Where are those things? When a government is run on lies, propaganda, it does not work. Because at the end of the day, those things will turn out to stare you in the face. They are not working. So tell us the truth. Tell us where we are. Look, our debt to GDP is over 50% now. When Buhari left, it was about 35%. Now it has climbed well over 50%.
In just 1 year.
How do you sustain this? What is going on in terms of governance is not sustainable. So the knee-jerk approach of you have increased you have removed the import duties on blah, blah, blah. Perhaps temporary relief, but as long as the other fundamentals continue to go south, I don't think we are coming out of the woods sooner
or later.
All right.
Anyway, as we look forward to wrap up the papers, let's quickly touch on the Rivers State crisis. Let's get your thoughts on it. Yes. What's your thoughts? We're seeing back and forth. Court gives order, no more elongation of local government chairman. Come to us. We give you 7 days. You have 7 days ultimatum to represent the budget again. Drama.
Well, we have said over and over and over again here, the crisis in Rivers State, even at the risk of sounding like a broken gramophone, there is no crisis in Rivers State. What is going on in Rivers State is the ego, the overbloated ego of one man called Nthenge Mackenzie. Let's not make any mistake about this. What is going on is that one man wants to, in the manner of, I think, King Louis XIV of France, who said, I am the state. Wike is now saying he is Rivers State. And unless things go his way, nothing else will go on. What is going on is that the man wants to protect his structure. And what is that structure? It is structure of criminality, structure of controlling the resources of the people of Rivers State. Look, this thing has nothing to do with the welfare and well-being of the people of Rivers State. So the crisis is to the extent that people have allowed Wike to continue doing what he's doing in Rivers State. It's as simple as that. And, you know, I think it was President Barack Obama who said, as long as the rule of strong men persists in Africa, we can't make any progress. There must be rule of law, for crying out loud. When we allow only one man to assume the responsibility of all of us, there will always be this problem. The moment Wike took it upon himself to buy forms, nomination forms, for everybody who wanted to contest the election in Rivers State, including the governor, that was when this seed was sown. So it is a crisis that has to do with the ego, with the selfish ambition of only one man who wants to be in Abuja and who, after 8 years of being governor of Rivers State, still wants to call the shots, still wants to dictate who gets what in Rivers State. So people of Rivers State need to take their destiny and say enough is enough. The police, I am sorry to say, is not impartial. The police seems to be tilted towards what Wike is doing. And this crisis will not end until Wike sees that he can have his way. As long as he is hopeful that he will have his way, this crisis will persist. So I don't see this in the problem begins and will end with what Rivers people decide to do with their former governor, Nthenge Mackenzie.
He has an army of supporters. I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see how things turn out. It's a battle between the two leading houses, the House Wike and House Fubara, which is quite interesting. It's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us this morning. And we wish you a wonderful rest of the day. We have 6 more days to find out what will happen with Simna Life Fubara and if you will present budget on
countdown.
But this is still Breakfast Central. We'll go on the break. When we come back, we're still going to be looking at the Wike and Fubara story, but this time we're going to be heading to X to see what Nigerians are saying. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's time for us to find out what Nigerians are saying. And for the most part of the conversation today, we've looked at the drama that's going on in Rivers State. It's a tale of two houses fighting to stand and, you know, sort of be the leader of one. It's Governor Sim Fubara's team versus Governor Nyesom Wike's team. Now, we also talked about the court's judgment regarding Martin Amaewhule and the other lawmakers who have sort of been reinstated. Now, several Nigerians have started reacting to this on X, and we're just going to look at their tweets and also ask you to share what your thoughts are regarding the drama going on in Rivers State. But now let's take tweets from Nigerians all over social media. Olushoga Ajayi says, Rivers State House of Assembly that is recognized by law is the assembly led by Right Honorable Martin Amaewule? Why is no one calling on Governor Sim to find solution through peace? His tenure is seriously marred with crisis. He will make little impact in his 4 years as governor if he continues like this. And then we also have the next tweet we have Wike's voice. Interesting handle. Everyone knew that the State High Court has no jurisdiction over that matter, but Sim kept deceiving himself. Congratulations, authentic Speaker, Right Honorable Martins Amaewule. There are several other tweets reacting. We have everyone knew that the State High Court has no jurisdiction. Okay, Frank Eluem. Frank Eluem says, Wike should realize that Rivers deserve peace, not war. If truly he loves Rivers State, he cannot continue to be in power after he has left. He knew Fubara can do the job, which is why he supported him. That's what he's saying. But the next tweet is from Senator Shehu Sani, who says, Rivers Assembly has become a bicameral mamiota. The head is Fubara and the body is Wike. We have another tweet from Kenny Okolugbo, who says, Martin Amaewule versus Fubara, I had warned that these court processes won't end until judgment of Omotocho is vacated by a superior court. Attorney General Rivers State sitting on the edge is an ill wind that blows no one any good. Impeachment looms even before Supreme Court rules. And the next tweet is from Wike. I think we've taken this one earlier. Let's take another tweet. Wike's voice has shared his, but Olushogaja, he says, yeah, Rivers State House of Assembly is recognized by law. Yeah, I believe that we've taken this tweet as well. But these are what Nigerians are saying regarding this. They've shared their thoughts about the drama between Martin Amaewule's house, of course, which is powered by former Governor Nyesom Wike and Governor Sim Fubara. What side of the divide are you on? It reminds me of that book, Things Fall Apart, the center indeed cannot hold. But that's all that we have on what Nigerians are saying. We'll be right back. Right now it's time for us to have more conversations on Breakfast Central. Stay with us.
It's no doubt that Nigerians are indeed talking tough on the social media space, looking at the situation in Rivers State. What's your say? You can also have your say by dropping your comments on any of our social media pages. But then again, let's move on now to very, very big conversation. The federal government has suspended taxes, duties, and tariffs on certain essential food items imported through the nation's land and sea borders. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, during a press briefing at the National Press Center in Abuja on Monday, stated that food items such as maize, wheat, brown rice, and cowpeas will have a 150-day duty-free import. Take note, 150-day duty-free. Now, the minister noted that his measure is part of the Presidential Accelerated Stabilization and Advancement Plan aimed at achieving food security and economic stability in Nigeria. Joining us is management consultant and economist Dovish Okoje. Good morning to you, Dovish.
Yeah, good morning.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Let me find out first. Are you excited with this news that finally the bag of rice will come down and everybody would be happy?
How are we even sure that the bag of rice will come down?
I mean, Dovish is following this story clearly, so I think he's in a better position to either get us excited or get us worried. Putting the indices in place. Your thoughts?
All right. So first of all, if we are talking about excitement, whether a bag of rice will come down or not, that is not really the ball of contention now, or the main thing we should be talking about. You see, they say desperate times come for desperate measures. So, and this current move by the federal government is actually a desperate move to be able to contain food prices, okay, and also food inflation in extension. So I don't know if I'm excited, but the only thing that I can say is that this will at least cushion down the effect of food prices. And like we know, this is like a quick win solution, is a short-term solution, and it will do a lot because the numbers are not looking good. Food inflation is over 40% now, which is a problem. And if we actually want to meet up with the numbers that the government has projected when it came into power and every other thing, then they have to make this move. So there's no excitement really, but I think this is a measure that will mitigate the effect of inflation, food inflation, and every other thing. But there are other downsides to it, though. So, but that's just my view for now.
All right. What would you say, Dora? What would you say that the effect of this is? What would you say the effect of this is on the development of the economy so far and how we're proceeding? Is this something that maybe we'll start to see impact in the next couple of months?
Well, it's possible for the impact to come. It's a two-way thing. Okay, there are advantages and there are disadvantages. That is the best way to look at matters like this. For example, there'll be more competition, more food flood the market. And one thing I also want to make very clear is that most times people talk about food security and this, and that's what the government is trying to fight. But I think the major thing that we should be talking about now is food sovereignty. Okay, so this is just a quick fix measure to mitigate the effects on the current issue on ground. So I just feel, well, we'll cope with it and we'll work how things go.
Okay, all right. So we've looked at it from the human angle. We've looked at it from the general aspect of possibilities. Let's use the word possibilities. But let's look at the effect it would have on the development of Nigeria's economy going forward. We've seen a very turbulent economy like we've never seen in a while. I mean, we've seen it in a while, especially from the APC being in power from the last administration, talking about the former president, Muhammadu Buhari. And now it's come down to now, in 2024. We see an economy that's it's moving from here to there. It kind of like reminds me of what one senator said. He said Nigeria's economy is how did he put it? Anyway, I can't remember that. But let's look at the economy carefully. With this move from the presidency, are we about to see an economy stabilize, especially in the aspect of food scarcity? Can you bring us up to speed with what this would do to the economy?
Okay, so talking about this now from an economic angle, there will be some form of stability on the short run. And it's just for about five months, which is, we're talking about between now and the next 6 months, between now and the end of the year. And personally, I felt Nigeria doesn't need to import food, okay, for economic reasons, that we can sufficiently take care of ourselves and meet our needs and even end up exporting. And also, remember some months ago, the president also said that there is, no need to import food, that the government will not support the importation of food. But here you see, it's like a policy, somersault one way or the other. You want this at this point in time, you do something else at that point in time. Now you look at, it tells you that the numbers are not looking too good. The numbers are not looking well. So that is why they have to make this decision to stop things. But I believe is a good step, because rather than folding their hands and watching the economy, getting more heated up, bringing quick policies like this to, make everywhere a bit moderate is the way forward. And if we look at the situation of food inflation, we know that this is multifaceted, and we always focus more. Let me branch a bit into this so that we'll talk about climate change, this and that. I think sometimes we are escaping from the real conversations that we are supposed to be having. Now, when you talk about food security or food scarcity, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's no food, okay? There is food, but the problem now is when inflation and scarcity are happening together, it's a very difficult situation, especially looking at it from an economic angle. So in this situation now, you have to cool off something from one way or the other. You have to redirect policies to cool the economy, because over 40% food inflation now is a very, very serious matter. And so economically speaking, I think this will calm down the situation, because if it keeps on growing like this, though we can see that on month-to-month inflation has reduced, is coming down, but at least it's still, when we look at it on a year-to-year basis, it's still going up, and it's something concerning. So I applaud the government for taking this drastic step. And also, if you're to get deeper into it economically, we know that there was a time that people were talking about commodity boards and everything. This is also a stylish way to experiment. Okay, if we're able to say, okay, recommended retail prices are also going to be attached to these goods, and there are also going to be some standards that are met with them so that nobody just throws in anything because we're in a desperate situation for food. Now, this is like a test case where you can say, okay, how do we move forward? And how do we continue in this dimension? So that's it basically for now. So economically, in summary, economically, I think this is a good move. Okay, it's a good move, but mind you, this is a short-term solution, not a long-term solution.
I want to say thank you so much for joining us, Dovis Okoje. I mean, great points, and most importantly, Nigerians can start to heave a sigh of relief. Looking at the borders being opened is another conversation that Nigerians are also calling for. But then again, importation, taxes, and all that being lifted, that's a good one. Thank you for joining us, and do well to have a great day. All right. Let's move on now as we bring the show to a close. It's been an accelerated form of conversation here on Breakfast Central, right from where we started off at 7 a.m. And hoping that you did join us too. The big stories so far, Oliver, I think that stands out for me still has to do with River State, which is indeed a very big story, no doubt, because I stand to wonder how Governor Fubara governs the state in this limbo.
I mean, I said this at the beginning, and I'll say it at the end again. Whilst yes, I feel for him, Governor Fubara, Governor Nyesom Wike, I must state that at the end of the day, when the two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. When Governor Nyesom Wike, former Governor Nyesom Wike, and Governor Siminalayi Fubara fight, it is the people of River State that suffer. It is governance in River State that suffers. Governance has taken the backseat. Politicking has come to the fore. And at the end of the day, you cannot claim that you love your state so much to throw it into chaos. If you love River State so much, I would think that both parties will find a way to work together to ensure that they move the state forward. Or if at all, you know, there's anybody who's, I mean, everyone should throw their weight behind who the current governor is. That's what I would think. Again, it's just a reminder to us that when these politicians are busy playing politics, it is the masses that will suffer. So I'm hoping that the masses will remember when going to the polls at the next elections to choose to support the person and, you know, the person and the party who would deliver on the mandates, not politics. Politics at the end of the day is not what will bail us out. We are seeing it playing out. We are seeing all the embarrassment, not just in Rivers State, in the different states. A number of them have just shown us what their true colors are. At the end of the day, it is the people that will suffer. That's all we have to say about that.
It's a tough one.
Let's share with you what's happening later today as we're getting out of the studio. We have a lot more, or a lot other exciting. I don't want to say a lot more because Breakfast Central, as far as I'm concerned, is #1. We have other exciting programs to share with you. Let's share with you what's happening later today on News Central. At 11 a.m. West African time, we're bringing you conversation, Business Edge, yeah. And 1 p.m. West African time, it's In the Game, 7 p.m. West African time, Politics HQ. But remember that at 9 a.m. this morning, we have the news, and 10 a.m. it's Jasiri. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back again same time tomorrow. Remember to continue conversations with us at News Central TV on all platforms. I am Olive Emodi.
And I'm Joe Hansen. I'll see you again with Olive here tomorrow.